Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Srimad Bhagvatam Grantaraj ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadyasya yato nivayad itaratas charte suvigyaswarat. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye Muyanti Yatsurayaha. Tejo Varimidam Yata Binimayo Yatra Trisargo Misha. Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva. O all-pervading personality Godhead. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion. As one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen on fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Dharma pujita kaiktravotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam vastu shividam tapa trayon mulanam. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimba Purer Ishwaraha Sadyo Hridi Avurudyate Tra Kriti Bihi Sususubis Dakshanat. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold mysteries. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, this beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam sukamukad amrita dravya samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muhur ahorasika bhuvi bhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the tree of Vedic literatures, of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, even though its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse number 25. Whenever there are, Yada hi adharmena tamo diyo ripa jivanti tatrai sahi satpata kila date bhagam satyam ritam dayam yasho Babaya Rupani Dadad Yuge Yuge. Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord in his transcendental form manifests his supreme power, the truth positive, shows special mercy to the faithful, performs wonderful activities, and manifests various transcendental forms as is necessary in different periods and ages. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As mentioned above, the cosmic creation is the property of the Supreme Lord. This is the basic philosophy of Ishopanishad. Everything is the property of the Supreme Being. No one should encroach upon the property of the Supreme Lord. One should accept only what is kindly awarded by him. Therefore, the earth or any other planet or universe is the absolute property of the Lord. The living beings are certainly his parts and parcels, or sons, and thus every one of them has a right to live at the mercy of the Lord to execute his prescribed duty. No one, therefore, can encroach upon the right of another individual man or animal without being so sanctioned by the Lord. The king or the administrator is the representative of the Lord to look after the management of the Lord's will. He must therefore be a recognized person like Maharaj Yudhisthira or Parikshit. Such kings have full responsibility and knowledge from authorities about the administration of the world, but at times, due to the influence of the ignorance mode of material nature, tamoguna, the lowest of the material modes, kings and administrators come into power without knowledge and responsibility, and such foolish administrators live like animals for the sake of their own personal interest. The result is that the whole atmosphere becomes surcharged with anarchy and vicious elements. Nepotism, bribery, cheating, aggression, and therefore famine, epidemic, war, and similar other disturbing features become prominent in human society. And the devotees of the Lord or the faithful are persecuted by all means. All these symptoms indicate the time of an incarnation of the Lord to reestablish the principles of religion and to vanquish the maladministrators. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, there's another tease by Krishna, by Prabhupada. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. So where is that confirmed? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam shijam yaham. So there's a 4th chapter, verse number 6 and 7. 7 and 8, where it says, Paritranaya sadhanam vinasaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So we see there's also yuge yuge in this verse. So it says that whenever there's a decline in religious practice and a predominant rise of your religion, at that time I descend myself to deliver the devotees, destroy the miscreants, and reestablish the principles of religion. I myself appear in every millennium, Krishna says, or I appear millennium after millennium. Okay, so that is Bhagavad Gita 4, 7, and 8. The Lord then appears in his transcendental form without any tinge of material qualities. He descends just to keep the state of his creation in a normal condition. The normal condition is that the Lord has provided each and every planet with all needs of the native living beings. They can happily live, execute their predestined occupations to attain salvation at the end, following the rules and regulations mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The material world is created to satisfy the whims of the Nityabadas, or everlasting conditioned souls, just as naughty boys are provided with playing cradles. Otherwise, there was no need of the material world. But when they become intoxicated with the power of material science, to exploit the resources unlawfully, they're without the sanction of the Lord, and that also only for sense gratification, there is necessity of the Lord's incarnation to chastise the rebellious and to protect the faithful. When he descends, he exhibits superhuman acts just to prove his supreme right, and materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, and Kamsa are sufficiently punished. He acts in a manner which no one can imitate. For example, the Lord, when he appeared as Rama, bridged the Indian Ocean. When he appeared as Krishna from his very childhood, he showed superhuman activities by killing Putana, Agasura, Sakatasura, Kaliya, etc. And then his material uncle Kamsa. When he was at Dwarka, he married 16,108 queens, and all of them were blessed with a sufficient number of children. The sum total of his personal family members amounted to about 100,000, popularly known as the Yadu Vamsa. And again, during his lifetime, he managed to vanquish them all. He is famous as the Govardhan Dari Hari, because he lifted, at the age of only 7, the hill known as Govardhana. The Lord killed many undesirable kings in his time, and as a Kshatriya he fought chivalrously. He is famous as a Samodva, unparalleled. No one is equal to or greater than him. Haribol, Haribol. So, and a lot of interesting points in this purport also, all of Prabhupada's purports. So the basic principle of the Ishopanishad, Ishavaisham idam sarvam jatkinja jagatyam jagat tena tak tena punjitaha magridaha kasasriddanam. Everything in creation, in the material world, belongs to Krishna. Ishavaisham idam sarvam. So that means Krishna is the supreme controller of everything in material nature. So that's mantra 1 of the Ishopanishad. So there's an invocation, and then this is mantra 1. And he says, everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Well, this is the basic principle that organizes human society. Human societies are organized according to the concept of property that they have. So, in a socialist economy, the state is the main proprietor, and laws protect the state's proprietorship. In a communist, pure communist environment, the community or the commune is the proprietor. not the state. But of course, very few experiments in communism have succeeded, because usually there's what you call the interim period, the transformation of the society from a capitalist society to a communist society. So, but that transformation usually never takes place. So in a capitalist society, the individuals are proprietors, and laws protect individual proprietorship. So usually what happens, let's say when the communists take over a country, they begin to seize the property of the property holders and the businesses and the banks. They seize them, they take them away, and then they manage them for a period that's supposed to be transitional, where the ownership goes to the people, the small communes, the communities. But that never had happened. They do it on, like when Israel was founded, they had what's called the kibbutz. The kibbutz is the idea of a community ownership but obviously that's not it never really all the power did not transfer over to the community. The power is usually centralized in a so-called democratic government or socialist government or a so-called transitional communist government. You see, the property ownership never transferred from, let's say, the Chinese Communist Party to the people. So, and then in a monarchy, the king and the nobles are the proprietors, and all the laws protect their proprietorship. And in a dictatorship, the dictator and his military and industrial cronies are the proprietors. Actually, even the industrialists are not proprietors. The dictator is the proprietor of everything. So we see there's different types of, and in an anarchist society, nobody's the proprietor. And every one of those societies have failed. Why? Because it's not the truth. The truth is that Krishna is the proprietor. So if we accept that Krishna is the proprietor, then it becomes a, let's call it a benevolent or spiritual communist society. But actually, it's mixed. It's not purely communist, because Prabhupada has said that the preferred way of managing society is to have a saintly king, like Lord Ramachandra or Lord Yudhisthira, or Yudhisthira Maharaj, or Parikshit Maharaj. So the saintly king is always advised by the Brahmins, and if he misbehaves, then they take him out right away and put somebody else in who's saintly. So it's sort of a mix between communism and monarchy, which is considered the ideal type of kingdom. When we say communism, it means that the different communes or communities have almost autonomy, but they have to remain loyal to the saintly king. And that loyalty is tested every once in a while by the Ashvamedha sacrifice. Okay, so that's point one. So no one should encroach upon the property of the Supreme Lord. This is the main point, because Krishna has set aside for every living being his or her minimum needs. That includes also the animals, the insects, and the birds, and aquatics, and all living beings, including humankind, have their minimum needs set aside by the Lord. And as long as we accept the minimum, as the next verse says, Kurvanev karmani jiva chekchitam samha evam tvai anyatetosti nakarma lipyate nare. There's going to be nakarma, no karma involved in one's life if one lives by that principle of accepting only the minimum and using everything else in the service of the Lord. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. So that means that all the other systems of organization of society based on their fundamental concept of proprietorship will fail. And that's a fact. So Prabhupada also says, the root of all sin is deliberate disobedience to the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. That's the root of all sin. Disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord and deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature. So nowadays you have, these movements that, like, for example, the environmentalist movement and the, other movements that are all about, preserving nature. Now, that sounds really good. Let's preserve nature. Let's keep the water clean. Let's keep the atmosphere clean. Let's not contaminate everything with carbon fuels and so forth. So it sounds really good. However, that is also a failure because they don't recognize the proprietorship of the Lord. So they talk about some nebulous ideas as Mother Nature, and you have to protect Mother Nature. Well, when I say it's nebulous in this sense that is Mother Nature a person? It sounds like it is. But is Mother Nature the Supreme Personality of Godhead? No. It's not Mother Nature, it's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mother Nature is not the owner and controller of everything. She's simply an agent of the Lord. Every planet has an agent of the Lord who's in charge of the maintenance of that planet. And in charge also of the direction of that planet. Direction not only in terms of management, but also in terms of steering it through space. Like you have a car, you're responsible for driving according to the rules of the route. So they have also fixed orbits that they have to keep their planet in. So this lack of knowledge of who is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead means that all these different concepts, systems, philosophies, economic philosophies, etc., are going to fail. They're not going to. What is failure? Failure is people are not happy. Just like a temple. If there's a manager of the temple, the purpose for which the manager functions is to keep the devotees happy by keeping them engaged in devotional service. If the devotees are not happy and they're always, arguing and so forth, then it's the fault of the manager. There's not enough Krishna conscious activity going on, and it's not strictly followed, so therefore people start fighting and they're not happy and they're complaining and they're always dissatisfied. So the king has the same responsibility, and it's to keep the people happy, not by giving them free liquor and free marijuana, but which is what they do nowadays. Every Christmas, if you have a business, your supplier will send you a bottle of wine or a bottle of whiskey. What are you going to do with that? You could use it, I don't know. You can't really. So, see, they think that's what will make you happy, right? We want to thank you for your business, and here's a bottle of wine so you can break the regulative principles. So, this is ignorance is all prevalent in society today. So, therefore, the earth or any other planet or universe is the absolute property of the Lord. The living beings are certainly his parts and parcels, or sons, and thus every one of them has a right to live at the mercy of the Lord to execute his prescribed duty. You see, what is our right? Does it mean like a Mexican has a right to cross the American border and get welfare? Is that the right? No, the Mexican can continue to live in Mexico, Actually, these borders are arbitrary. They're not real. And you can see the southern border of the United States is not real. People just walk across it, right? Or they go under it, or they fly over it, or they take a boat or a submarine or whatever. They're all crossing the border in massive numbers. So these borders are not real. They're just arbitrary lines that are drawn based on bodily concept. But the point is that when the South American governments don't properly manage their country, and the people want to leave. They want to go somewhere else where there's better sense gratification. So if the principle was not sense gratification, but rather practicing Vedic Dharma, then the people wouldn't leave. What is the purpose of human life? It's to live. We have a right to live at the mercy of the Lord to execute our prescribed duties. And no one says that that's the way to manage, or that's the destiny of every human being. Has a right to live at the mercy of the Lord to execute his prescribed duties. No one, therefore, can encroach upon the right of another individual man or animal without being so sanctioned by the Lord. In other words, you're going to be punished if you infringe on others. The king or the administrator is the representative of the Lord to look after the management of the Lord's will. That's the purpose of a king or any administrator. It's not to line their pockets with money. It's not to usurp people's properties. It's not to limit their movements. It's basically to look after the management of the Lord's will. What's the Lord's will? Well, that's explained in the 3rd chapter, 10th verse. Saha yagya praja sristva purarava prajapati ananya anena prasavistvad esavosvistakamāduk. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna," sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So what is the yajna recommended in Kali Yuga? Well, it is chanting Hare Krishna. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, 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 gatiranyata. If we don't chant Hare Krishna, then nature doesn't cooperate, and there's chaos all the time, as we're experiencing now. The chaos can be caused by many numbers of things, such as a virus, such as an earthquake, such as a hurricane, such as a flooding, such as tsunami, such as so many things, cancers, such as heart attacks. There's so many reasons why nature can be disturbed, or nature can be overwhelming to the living entities. But if everyone engaged in prescribed yajnas, and the sages Harinam Sankirtan yajna, then we're living at the mercy of the Lord, and the Lord protects us. And all the agents of the Lord, like the demigods, they will also do their job. And therefore it says, the demigods being pleased by sacrifices will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign. So there has to be this cooperation between men and demigods, not men and an industry or a university or a political movement or anything like that. It's men and demigods. And the demigods are the agents of Krishna. So it's actually, Krishna is the boss. So you please the boss, then all his managers will please you also, because they'll be ordered by the boss. So unless people understand this, all the solutions they make to the problems of life will fail, unfortunately. And all the people have hope instead of putting their hope in the mercy of the Lord, they put their hope in some politician, it'll fail. Their hopes will be dashed. Just like now we see, we're going to have a wonderful economy. Everyone, have everything they need. And the whole thing is shattered in 2 weeks. So after all that hard work and investment here and this and then bringing jobs back to America, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to work. It's only because the main point is that we should all live depending on the mercy of the Lord. Right to live at the mercy of the Lord to execute our prescribed duties. So depending on the mercy of the Lord, that is the main theme. Now what does that mean? You don't do anything? No. You perform your duties, and there are many duties that we have to perform properly and in a regulated way. And then if we do that, then there's cooperation. And then due to that cooperation, people become very, very happy, and they become reconnaissant of that there is this direct relationship between the living entity and God. And the background arrangement of everything is Krishna. So therefore, we should not put our hopes in politicians. We should not put our hopes in so-called miracle men. We should put our hopes in Krishna. And we have a right to live at the mercy of the Lord to execute His prescribed work. And what's His prescribed work? Yajna. He said that. He sent forth generations of men and demigods in the beginning of time and gave them yajnas to perform, the performance of which will provide everything desirable to live comfortably and happily and go back to Godhead at the end of life. As Prabhupada explains this, he says, the Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajnas, sacrifices, for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. That's the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures, and this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtan Yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna, in his devotional form as Lord Chaitanya, is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagvatam 11.5.32 as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan Yajna. Krishna Varnyam Chisak Krishna Sangapangastra Parasadam Yajnai Sankirtana Parar Yajanti Mam Sumidasaha. Yajanti Hi Sumidasaha. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates, by performance of Sankirtan Yajna. Other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in the age of Kali, but the Sankirtana Yajna is easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita also 9.14. So this is the whole sum and substance of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. It's to live in accordance with the mercy of the Lord, at the mercy of the Lord, execute our prescribed duties. And our prescribed duty is Sankirtan Yajna, following the rules and regulations and chanting Hare Krishna, and in congregation. So the king or the administrator is the representative of the Lord to look after the management of the Lord's will. It doesn't say management of the people, it says management of the Lord's will. If you manage according to the Lord's will, the people will be happy. If you manage the people according to their whims, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that, Nobody's going to be happy, neither the people nor the king. The king must therefore be a recognized person like Maharaj Yudhishthira Parikshit. Such kings have the full responsibility and knowledge from authorities about the administration of the world. But at times, due to the influence of the ignorance mode of material nature, tamaguna, the lowest of the material modes, kings and administrators come into power without knowledge and responsibility, and such foolish administrators live like animals for the sake of their own personal interest. Well, that is the reality. So we'll stop right there. Thank you very much. Haribol. Glories to Prabhupada. Yeah, we'll finish it tomorrow. You only have half the chicken there.